Alright, welcome back to my channel, guys. My name is Coach Timmy. Today we're going to be watching over Mitr0's team and working out whether or not I reckon Mitr0 and his team are going to be able to place this season. So Mitr0 and CRR and X8, they land Slurpee. Now, of course, Slurpee has had a nerf, but we're going to watch over three different things that they do. We're going to watch over the W King games. Obviously, that's the thing that CRR and Mitr0 are really well known for. Mitr0, obviously one of the best W Kers in the world still. So here is Mitr0's last solo cash cup. Have a look at these games. 15 kills, 12 kills, 22 kills, 3, 3, 2, and 6. So the guy still 100% has it in terms of W King, shotgun aim, his mechanics. It's all there. What we need and what he needs is a proper team and a proper IGL to see him through. So what we're going to watch, like I said, first off, we're going to watch his W King and his team's W King, how they interact together, because this might be one of the scariest W King teams, not only in Europe, but in the world. Then we're going to watch how they play mid-game in FNCS Finals. And then we're going to watch how they play in-game at FNCS Finals and try and see whether or not we reckon Mitr0 can place this season. Hope you guys enjoy. Now, straight away, CRR going for a different angle. So that's one of the things that obviously I spoke a lot about Tyson and his trio, always looking for different angles. And straight away, we're seeing this from this trio as well. This is, of course, something that you'd expect from any Tier 1 team. But we've got Mitr0 from one side, X8 from the other. And you already saw that there from CRR looking to jump in at a different side. But this guy does go down in the end. And they'll get a shake off on him, putting some pressure on this guy's wall. And he does get taken out. This seems to be Mitr0 being a little bit of a victim of feeling invincible, or also the victim of no audio. So in these circumstances, it's always really important, anytime you're W King, always make sure that you've got control on the boxes around you, or on the spaces around you. So he should have this wall here, this should be his, this one here should be his, and then this one here should be his as well. If he's got these, then at least King Yangi has to start pickaxing this wall here, and he doesn't get snuck up on like this. So small basics like that, like just blocking off your sides, at least from there, he would be able to stop the damage from coming. And it doesn't mean that X8 and CRR are forced to basically 1v3 this fight. So they dropped 31 kills this game. This time wasted here probably takes up a lot of time, and therefore stops them from being able to drop real decent number of kills. Looks like they're getting W keyed by team now. And Mitr0 intros with a double dink. And then immediately jumped on again. So again, it's just not checking his surroundings quite so much. Being a little too eager. Remembering the words that I'm constantly using from the reviews that I did on Tyson and his trio. Always playing together. Always looking for separate angles. And always looking to take 3v1s rather than 1v1s. So looking to play as a team to try and isolate other members of the trio. Meanwhile, X8, and now you see X8 and CRR, they're looking to play from two different angles, and X8 playing safe and CRR playing safe. That's the kind of stuff that I want to see Mitr0 being able to adapt to his game as well. So I want to see what's causing this death here as well. Because so far we've seen potentially not blocking off the surroundings, doing the basics like that, but getting in here. There we go. That's exactly what I want to see. And it seems so small, right? But the importance of just doing something like this so that you mitigate third party, or that you mitigate the silence, sneak up and one pump that we just saw him go down for, that's a really important learning point for him. So CRR coming from the top. X8 putting some pressure on from the side. And then Mitr0 playing nice and safe, coming in from the side as well. So CRR doing controller things, looking to get in. And he does happen to be in. And now that is an example of when the team probably has to full send it with him. So I would like to see, there we go. At that point, you've really got in, you've got to support your mate. So jumping in, at least making it two people in the box rather than one, just puts the odds a little bit more in your favor, and particularly when you got CRR and Mitr0, you probably will end up winning that fight, even if it's not technically the best way to take it. And now I'd like to see Mitr0 use the angles here that CRR's got set up. Perfect. That's exactly what I want to see. So putting some pressure on here. Now we're starting to see the pinch come out. So CRR coming from that way, X8 coming from this way, and now Mitr0 coming from here. Again, the idea of just making sure that the opponent is suffocated in terms of angles that he can move into, because because this team has all the angles covered. Which way is Pereira and Pedro supposed to move here? Do they want to come this way, straight into Mitr0's fire, with CRR coming from behind and X8 coming from behind? That won't work. When you've got angles covered like this, it makes it impossible for these guys to gap it. And if they want to gap it by pad, you probably take them out the air. So multiple angles. Ends up with Pedro going down. And now continuing to put on pressure. I'm sorry, but Pereira, mate, you're not going to last too much longer. So at the moment, it's just kind of putting pressure on players who are a little bit more clueless than they are. Staying nice and front side, making sure there's multiple angles on these guys, putting pressure back down on back zone. He's going to jump in the box with a full trio, I think. So Mitr0 getting a little bit eager with 0 mats, not quite paying attention to what he's got. So again, it's just that idea of him being a little bit overconfident with what he's got, not quite having it put together. That's an interesting way to pick up a 3-piece. That's a nice way to increase your kills. Holy shit. So CRR putting in some work here on low ground. Oh my god. It's just the confidence, you know? And the thing is, what we need to see from them is a confidence that is still playing safe. So not having to force jump in boxes 50-50, but also, you know, the angles, the way that we've seen Tayson and Resin play that is so solely built around teamwork. That's what I want to see from these guys, because they absolutely 100% have the W King talent. It's just about putting it together. Oh my good god. I mean, CRR is just insane. But it's just about making sure that it's not only the you know, the 50-50 style that they can play. They have to be able to play that smart W King, the kind of W King that that you can replicate game to game to game, no matter who it is that you're coming up against. As CRR finishes with 18 kills, well above as you'd expect by fighting off spawn. And that's the one thing is that they might not have the practice of mid game without taking a fight. But the thing is, and after watching what we did with them W King, this is one team that could take fights for Surge and probably win them a majority of the time. So being 700 above after maybe taking a first zone fight might not be that kind of weird for them. Not rushing, that's good. A lot of these EU teams tend to rush, move really early. X8 took his time there, picked the right line, stuck nice and high. By sticking high there, this pink team here, by going up the side of the mountain over here, he essentially cut line of sight from them. Super simple, right? But really, really important thing to do. And also, another important thing that he's done there, instead of joining Tayson and stuff down on low ground, he's actually anchored themselves a really nice point here up on a high position. So that if zone does continue to pull over the water here, what they're going to guarantee themselves is a position that isn't requiring them to crank all the way up in the middle of this gully. So this gully is going to come into effect here. So we're going to see some decent theory in play here, whether or not they know when to stay high, when to drop, all that sort of stuff. So this is obviously going to be moving into sort of looking at their stacked late game procedure, how that'll work. X8 sort of working with Mitr0 and CRR looking out back for frags. So this should be a deadly team. If X8 can get them into decent positions, Mitr0 and CRR are some of the best fraggers in Europe. So having them out back, not just Europe, the world. So having them out back, that'll be a really, really good thing for them. But the thing about T1 players that I'm always saying, always looking, always actively searching for kills, for damage, anything that can help them out. And by ramping over the top of the people who rotated ahead of them, they get a fairly free rotation in, and now late game starts. We can sort of see how they play a stacked late game. 48 alive, and this is not an easy end game too. This is 100% one of the hardest end games that we'll see as we're going over the gully. We're looking down a big mountain. We've got lots of verticality around. So this will really test them. So seeing how they go on this sort of thing is going to be really interesting. So straight away, look to recycle a pad and get absolutely chunked for it. Mitr0 still in Storm. CRR gliding ahead. He did manage to hit it, but X8 is by himself here. So this is actually a really terrible start to watching how they play late game. But the good thing is that Mitr0 and CRR are grouped up, and Mitr0's done the right thing and given him some space to work with. Meanwhile, X8 is still making his way in, and X8 does a great job of making sure that they're all grouped up again. Meanwhile, CRR showing off his tarping abilities, and unfortunately, when you're split like that, you got to think of it like X8 just burnt a tarp's worth of mats by himself, and CRR had to burn a tarp's worth of mats to keep them ahead of zone. So the priorities from CRR are really good there. But it also sucks for the team because, unfortunately, X8's now down to 200 builds, and CRR has just also used a whole bunch, making sure that they stayed ahead. So Mitr0 now taking over, so it's good seeing a little bit of a role interchanging here. You usually see that from the top players late game, but seeing Mitr0 sort of take over there, that's a good thing to see, good sign. Playing right to an edge, CRR. doing some really nice tarping here, keeping them right on edge. And 170. So they don't have a huge amount left. They've got about 500 total. So I'm looking for Mitr0 or for CRR to make a play happen. And they do. Mitr0 or CRR gets in with the... And as a team, you see here, Mitr0 right with them. Deceptos jumping in as well. But with that refresh, they've now got enough to keep moving forward. And good restraint there from Mitr0. But unfortunately does get a little bit greedy. And that might be the thing that he really needs to pull back. That might be the thing that makes all the difference for his team this season. Because whether or not we can get Mitr0 to pull back on those things about wanting to get the loot, wanting to get the kills, and playing more for the team. So they pull off a nice top 3 here, but you have to say, he does pull zone back here. He gets his own teammate Siphon Mats. And he's got a nice little place that's pretty established to sit out the last 3 placements here from. CRR playing nice in backside. This is one of the things, right? When you've got a player like CRR, that the genuine talent and the fact that he hits so hard always makes him a threat late game. So what we need to do is make sure that him, Mitr0, and X8 are constantly alive late game, because as soon as they can get in and finish these, it's like jumping in like that, secures them a top 3 from essentially being a solo from a wee while back. So that clutch factor is so important for this trio. But from what I've seen, I think they absolutely have the talent to do it, to pop off this season, to place well this season. It just is going to come down to whether or not they can scratch out those small issues that they have. Potentially being a little bit too kill hungry, potentially maybe not knowing how to get surge without fighting. Small things like that that'll make a big difference for this team.